is Shara Kanzler with Fast Casual, and I have the honor to introduce our guest today, Erle Dardick. How are you, Earl?
Doing great, Shira. Just got back from Europe on Saturday.
Amazing. Well, I think most of our viewers will remember you from your days with Monkey Media. I know you have since sold that company, but you are still our catering guru. So maybe you could start off by telling me what you've been up to in the last few years.
Well, the last few years, I did a little bit of a stint over at Lunchbox. I was the chief strategy officer there. That was an interesting experience. The theory there was I would come there and help to influence some catering development and investment into catering. I helped Nabil a lot with that and did what I could there, and they're off and running and doing their thing. So I did some of that. I worked at Olo for a while, which was kind of interesting as well. Same kind of thing. Just got in there, made an assessment of their catering efforts, and gave them some recommendations, which they implemented. And now I'm back on my own, standing on my own feet, doing my own thing under the Off-Premises Growth Academy, and really looking forward to what's ahead. And just going to continue to pursue what I think is, things that operators need to do to accelerate their catering programs.
Right. And speaking of, one of those things is a workshop that you're partnering with us. We are kind of having at the finale of the Fast Casual Executive Summit in October in Denver. So we're really excited to get that going. We've got the agenda up and running, and we're booking speakers. And maybe you could tell our audience about what they'll learn when they attend that event.
Yeah, it's interesting, sure, because I really, what I noticed after I sold my company was I had a gap. I missed a lot of the elements of my work. I was very fortunate to find an exit. Of course, I sold my tech company, but I really missed the elements of really conversation, engagement, and what I thought were core fundamental issues that really are facing the industry at the operator level. And as you know, operators are so focused on their operations. Catering is something that dovetails in. Often people are very confused. They underestimate the effort. They don't really know what catering is. It's often not well defined. And what I've learned is that catering is really something that is it's a business unto its own. And operators really need to take the time to slow down and understand what are the kinds of investments they have to make. What are the trapdoors that are opening around them? The technology blueprint in the landscape is very confusing. We're going to be diving in big time onto that because I'm a big believer that catering is really in the B2B channel, really follows the food manufacturing space more than it does retail. And so therefore, we're starting to see the merging of these two things come together, and it's going to be a really exciting conversation.
So what do you think when restaurant operators are trying to expand their catering, they dive in, what do you see as maybe one of their number one mistakes or errors or something that they should have known before they started?
Yeah, for me, it always starts at the top, Shira. Like I've just noticed a lot of brands who just still are not sponsoring. Like the CEO just is not engaged, or they've got other priorities. For me, that's a red flag when I see that. There's an incredible opportunity for those brands that have not made that kind of commitment. There's nowhere to go but up for them. And what I've learned is if you really have sponsorship at the top level and then catering becomes part of your core strategy, then you get the investments you require. And so for me, that's really where it begins. There are a lot of brands who have made a lot of investment, and we're going to see a lot of those. We're actually going to talk about that at the workshop. We're going to have speakers and examples there of people that have made the investments. They've been doing it for a decade, and their results are phenomenal. And we're going to showcase and case study that and try and help the other operators who haven't, especially in the sort of fast casual / fast food movement, which, as you know, is blending completely, right? Some of the biggest brands in the world have not yet gotten their minds wrapped around their catering strategies. And it's a big business for them, so it's a really exciting conversation.
Well, you mentioned investing, and I know that, technology, there's so much out there. Is there such thing as too much technology when you're trying to do a catering program? I mean, how do you advise operators to dissect that?
Yeah, well, in the multi-unit restaurant space, we look at the centralization of services as being one of the key elements that people have to do to accelerate their programs. There are a lot of systems out there they've got old ideas around it where they've decentralized catering. So if you take a franchise environment where you have a brand, a franchisor who really is not owning the catering experience, the franchisees have gone off and done it on their own. Okay. And so because they have to, today you need to do catering to survive as a restaurant operator at the unit level. And so technology plays big into the entire conversation. And the reason why I'm actually was thinking about this workshop for many years and why it's so important is marrying the strategy along with the tech blueprint is really what's frustrating for most operators. And what's further confusing is that there's so many e-commerce solutions available, online ordering solutions, point of sale solutions, and none of those solutions have a backbone of what is the business logic for catering transactions. And so where I see the industry going from a tech perspective as it relates to the business to business channel, which is this large opportunity, I think it's pegged at $124 billion, by 2025. I mean, there's some incredible data that's coming out. Is that the brands that look at catering as a separate business and they look at the B2B channel and they start looking at the food manufacturing space, which is the enterprise resource planning space, that's where you have standalone order management systems that are from the order to cash cycle. And what I mean by that is that it handles the transaction independent of point of sale. And the online ordering companies, the strategies they've used to this point have been to inject catering orders into the point of sale system. And because the business logic is not there, the transactions fail. It just doesn't get the operators what they need because catering is an operations-based problem. And so you start getting to things like, invoicing, things like accounts receivable management, things like production, delivery, CRM and sales people that are, deployed out there in the field. They all need tools to execute catering. And there's a very subtle difference between when you take an e-commerce transaction, drive it into the point of sale system, and nobody in the organization is touching that catering order. And what happens is when you deploy the right tech into the catering system in a multi-unit restaurant environment, you might have 4 users at each store that are touching catering. And if you have 100 stores, that's 400 people in your organization that get a tool that they currently don't have and that current online ordering and POS providers do not provide.
Right. Well, what I think is cool about this workshop, especially, is that we're not relying on one type of vendor or one company. We're not trying to push anything. It's everybody's welcome. We're just kind of have a meeting of the minds to figure out what to do best. So I think that was a really great idea that you came into, but you think there's enough room for everybody.
I want to encourage everybody to invest in catering. I sort of had this light bulb that went on earlier this year where I'm going it's just I want everybody to invest. I want the online ordering companies to invest. But saying that, I also want them to tell the truth. So there's this combination between what is marketing, what is real. And I would encourage the online ordering companies that are listening to this podcast to invest in catering, but they have to define what is catering in that environment, because they can do it. They can get there. And I believe that the restaurant technology providers at the order management level that are going to win are the ones that can offer takeout and catering in the same solution. Okay. Right. And so the race is on. You know what I mean? It's that's
see who's going to get there. I love it.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Speaking of the race is on, how is the U.S. compared to, other parts of the country? I know you were just in Europe checking out some catering. So what's up over there?
It's amazing. I was actually blown away. I was so curious. I got there and I started walking around looking, I was looking. And by the way, the fast casual segment is alive and well in every major European metropolitan city. Like Lisbon, amazing. Berlin, amazing. London, everywhere. Okay.
Right.
And so as I was walking around, of course, I can't help myself. Right? I'm looking and poking around and I started seeing on the window, we cater. The little menus, we cater. All in different languages, of course. And I'm looking and then I see trucks driving around catering, Catering is strong and alive and well. The same dynamics that exist here in the US and Canada, North America are identical to what they're facing in Europe in the metropolitan cities. There's a definite movement into this food at work movement. There's a combination of marketplaces versus first party orders. But the dynamics are the same. I mean, the markets are maybe not as big in some cases, but I tell you, London, it's huge. There's people everywhere. Have you been to London?
Yeah, twice.
Right? It's
we had a summit there twice, and it was just like being in. I think it's like a New York City, but cleaner. Yeah, so that's what I say. London,
but like wall to wall people everywhere. Yeah. Every food place was packed. And I just happened to be there. I mean, it was the Euro start, the soccer. There was something going on this week, and 100,000 people dropped into the city. But that's nothing because there's already like in the day there's like 16 million people in that city. You know, it's like it's so crazy. Like it doesn't matter where you go, and catering is everywhere. I'm seeing it across the private dining segment. There's trucks rolling everywhere. There's sandwich platters flying around. It's really quite exciting, actually. It's
So, what about supply chain issues? Are you seeing the same kind of issues there that we're having here?
Yeah, I think supply chain is consistent across. I mean, I do believe though, like for example, in Lisbon, it's different. Like the food is very local, you know, like they're, I mean, the seafood is amazing, right? It's just like it's even the meat, even dairy, everything is quite different. Like it's local, it's close by. They don't seem to have this like large food manufacturing distribution system that we have certainly in the US. I mean, the American brands. I mean, one of the large exports for the United States is fast food, right? I mean, so you know,
Mhm.
you're walking around Lisbon, and there's all this incredible stuff, and then there's a McDonald's. And by the way, McDonald's is packed. It's like but that's what people want. I guess it's familiar to them. They know it. Um, when you're traveling to these cities and these places, food's different. You really have to do your research when you eat at places to make sure you're going to get a good meal. Um, But yeah, I would say the dynamics are similar, except I would say that the food sources seem to be more local and seem to be better for you. I think generally, like certainly, I was in, I went to Lisbon, I was in Porto, and these places, and the locals eat well. There's local markets, everything's fresh. Which is pretty cool. Like Italy,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, it's very cool. I mean, I wish we would could get into
No,
that a
we
little
don't.
bit
We
better.
don't. We don't. It's harder. Like it's just hard. It's harder for us to access for some reason in North America for whatever reason, and if we do want to access it, we got to go to like Whole Foods, and it's really
Yeah,
expensive,
and
right?
pay
Like
for it,
so.
right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
So how are you? I know that you had Monkey Media, you switched gears, but you seem to be hitting the ground running again. So how are you getting all this energy? Where is this coming from?
Well, let's see. I took a 4-year break with a little bit of stint on, Olo and Lunchbox, which was great. But mostly I spent, after I sold my venture, which was a 24-year process, for me to find my exit. I had to take a good hard look in the mirror and realize that I really, like physically and mentally almost killed myself in the process, because so many things happened. I started as a young entrepreneur, Tony's Deli, my whole story happened, family, a lot of pressure, and it caught up with me, at the end there. So I was really lucky to get out. And I told myself at that point that I was going to just get myself healthy. So I did that. I just got into the gym and I just started, really looking at my diet and just, hitting my sleep and just really started, get rid of alcohol, do all that stuff and just, live a healthy life and come to terms with my mortality in the sense that I was now, you know, 53, I guess, at the time when I sold. And I was facing that really hard decision, which is like, what's enough? Is it enough? Is it not enough? What about my shareholders and my team? Like, what about, I had to go through that whole process, which is
Sure.
quite a difficult process, so, but then, separating the ego from what was practical, which was, I just will have to make do. So that was the gift that I was given in my transaction was I had an opportunity for myself to get healthy. And I think through that, got clear that, everything was great. I mean, I skied 143 days, which is amazing. And, um, got in the gym, hit it hard, did all the stuff I love to do. But there was a gap, I was still kind of missing something. Um, and when I finally tapped into what it was, I realized I missed my friends, my colleagues. I missed this, I missed the
Right.
conversation about catering, and I missed adding value to the community by trying to provide guidance and show people the way, at least what I think is, true, my truth, and what I believe. Um, and so I kind of popped up and resurfaced in that space going, I really, it's the education part that I really love. It's really helping restaurant operators to find their cadence and win with catering. Um, there's still so much opportunity, and there's still so many people that just haven't slowed down long enough, aren't doing the right things. There's many, many, many that are being pulled in bad directions by their tech partners, who just mean well. These are all good people, and they, but they're selling a solution that's not really a solution. and people get path dependent on that, and then they're sunk in, and I'm done with that stuff. It's just there needs
Right.
to be a there needs to be a real conversation in our industry about best practices and what those things are, and then encourage everyone to head into that space.
Yeah, and I think we're going to do that with the catering workshop, which I'm very excited
I
about.
hope so.
Yeah, could you spend just a couple minutes talking about maybe the agenda and who is going to be on stage with you?
Yeah, I'm still working on speakers, which basically my thinking of this direction, like what I'm thinking about is to sort of set the stage for a conversation around what I think is going to happen in the future of tech food service from operating systems. Okay, and there's this world of food manufacturing, which is known as enterprise resource planning systems, which have been used for many years in bakeries, commissaries, you know, light food manufacturing, which are basically systems that are standalone, and they handle everything from the ordering, the accounting, the production, the formulas, recipes, inventory, all the way into the supply chain and purchasing, and they're full standalone ERP. There's a portion of that system that can be configured for restaurant operators to plug those solutions into the existing ecosystem. And that world of ERP doesn't quite know it yet, which is so interesting to me. Okay. And so you have this restaurant industry, which is, really behind tech. The tech is behind. You've got the grocery sitting over here. You've got commissary sitting over here, like convenience stores. Okay. And we're seeing it, right? We're seeing like Wegmans is in catering now. We're seeing like
Mhm.
Wawa's big in catering. They're coming to our conferences, right? We've
Right.
seen them where they're walking around, they're there, they're participating, and they're learning from the restaurant industry. But what the restaurant industry is not doing is learning from them. And that's
Right.
the bridge. That's the bridge here. Okay. And so the conference is really all about setting the stage for our industry to look at those industries for solutions as it relates to catering. Okay. And then it dovetails into really before you can do anything, it's strategy first. If you don't know what your catering strategy is, if you haven't made the investments, if you don't understand the characteristics and behaviors and procedures that you need to put into your companies, you're not ready for tech. Okay. And so then the strategy is first. Then we're going to dovetail into the technology, which is two pieces. One is why injecting orders into point of sale systems is the wrong strategy. Okay. You cannot scale catering doing that. That's part one. And then part two is going to be, okay, so what do you do about that? And that's where the ERP world's going to come in. That's when like best in class solutions are going to pop into that conversation. And then really the last part of the day is really then to showcase operators who have made these investments. And there's so many today. We're going to get speakers coming from those brands, some of the biggest brands in the world. I'm talking with them. I just have to get it all organized, but it's all coming. And we're going to sort of leave the day on really getting people to case study and show their experiences and what they've been doing for the last 5 to 10 years in their brands, which is why when you look at them, catering is a $100 million business today. It didn't happen overnight. Okay. They've been working at it for a long time. So we're going to try and show that journey. Okay. So we can, and hopefully what operators will leave with is an actionable plan of how they can actually frame this thing and actually start working on it. Okay. To be able to accelerate their catering sales. And then of course this technology will be there to support it, which is, really the idea of it. And we're going to have Ask the Experts. We've got some great supply chain partners who are participating in this because I'm a huge believer that the suppliers, they need to also invest in in their solutions for catering. So packaging is big, for example, call center is big. Certainly our delivery community, third party marketplace partners, we're engaged with technology providers. I've got a secret shopping provider I'm talking to, and he's going, Earl, I never thought about that. I said, what do you mean? I said, well, you need services to be able to call and make sure these orders and secret shop them. And it's all the same stuff, but layered on the catering channel. Right.
Right. Right.
So that's the vision and we'll see where it lands.
Yeah, well, we're super excited about it. So, for our listeners, again, the Fast Casual Executive Summit is coming up in October, the 13th through the 15th. And then the catering workshop kicks off right after that evening on the 15th, and then all day of content on the 16th. So, you can sign up. I'm sure the links are going to be up here on the podcast, but you can even get a discount for attending both events. So, we're just super excited for all of our restaurant operators to come join us, and vendors and suppliers. And like you say, it takes a village. So, we're
It
excited
sure
to
does.
have you
I
back.
think actually, I think Jimmy Frischling, he's the guy that says it
Yeah,
takes a
he
village.
does say that, but I think someone famous said that before him.
Oh yeah, yeah. I'm sure lots of people.
Who
Yeah,
was
he
that?
stole
I
it.
don't know.
Yeah, he must. We should ask him. I'm sure he stole it from somebody else. Yeah, but mostly, I
Exactly.
want to mostly, sure. I hope we just have some fun and really have some open, honest conversation. And I feel like where I'm at now in my career and my life, and I'm not affiliated with anybody anymore. It allows me to
Right.
have an independent voice. You know what I mean? Like I can just stand here and speak what I know, and that's exciting.
And that's exactly what the industry needs. So I appreciate it. And we'll talk to you soon. Thanks.
Okay, thank you.